Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Governor Whitmer says there are some positive signs in Michigan's fight against COVID, but there's no decision yet on an extension of current restrictions.
They're the vaccine gatekeepers, scientists in charge of reviewing the shot to make sure it works and that it's safe. Tonight, a look inside that process.
Secret messages reveal moments of panic among some of the men accused of a domestic terror plot against Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Topping our news at 6, the Local 4 defenders reveal the group chat held by those now charged with plotting to kidnap the governor and storm the State House.
For the first time, we are seeing the group's conversation after one member alerted others that police had questioned a former roommate of his in Milford. Defender Sean Lay with how all of this started when one member of the group, Paul Bellar, was evicted from his Milford mobile home. Sean.
I'm going to show you the very first secret message from one person in this group that sent this group of men who are charged in this case into a panic. The first message from Paul Bellar. Guys, the cops just questioned my old roommate about me. Apparently, they were asking him about my military pictures and my actions in the anti-government Boogaloo movement. Has anyone else had anything strange going on? I see it looks like they got to Ty Garbin from Brighton, too. Bellar immediately tells the group, guys, change code words ASAP, meaning switch up the way they were using the app to talk to avoid detection. Bellar adds, apparently they brought them up to my roommate asking him about the coded texts. An unidentified member says, this is a big problem, Bellar. No blank. We've been compromised, it appears. The members on this chat were in full panic mode, but Milford police never questioned Bellar's roommate. She called Milford, finding that it was odd that Bellar left photos of himself in military gear on the mobile home walls after they were evicted. Milford says the FBI was already on to this group. Bellar asks, you think we got a Fed? Caleb Franks from Waterford immediately orders in-person talks only from now on. Then they suspect an informant is part of the group. Bellar might sound a lot of tinfoil hat, but on our ride to Wisconsin, we did talk about the coded words and meanings with our phones around. The group had no idea one member was recording conversations for the FBI, and an undercover officer was also part of the group. Bellar, the last thing we need to do is panic. We haven't done anything illegal or wrong. What's interesting, all the men talking in that group are all from Metro Detroit and apparently did not tell the alleged leader of the group, Adam Fox, that they may have been compromised. And the feds say Fox continued on with the alleged plot. Sean Lay, Local 4 Defenders.
All right, Sean, now to the latest on the coronavirus. At her news briefing this afternoon, Governor Whitmer said she is encouraged by signs that cases have leveled off a bit in the past few weeks.
But she's still worried about a possible spike from Thanksgiving that hasn't shown up yet. The state reports 7,146 new cases over the last 24 hours. We've also seen another 175 deaths, including 112 from a vital records review. The positive test rate broke 15% on Tuesday, with more than 70,000 tests reported. The last time it broke 15% was April 22nd, with about 7,000 tests reported. Governor Whitmer is encouraging everyone not to travel for the December holidays and to use Zoom or other video chat services to stay in touch with family outside one's home. And despite the leveling off in cases, she says she's not ready to extend the so-called 3-week pause just yet.
If you are looking at some of the most recent reporting, you know every health system in the state has seen growth in their hospitalizations from where we were just a month ago, and that is very concerning for everyone in the community. And so as we get, I think, a few more days of information in our belts, we'll be in a much stronger position to really assess if there are some things that maybe are safer to do, but if we have to make some extensions of the current pause in some realms, and that is sadly possible because of the just sheer volume of COVID.
Today, a group of restaurant owners got together to talk about the possibility of defying the governor's orders and reopening indoor dining. Joe Ficari, owner of Andiamo's and several other restaurants, said he's encouraging restaurants to stay closed, but he plans to go to Lansing to suggest a compromise.
Let's try to make it work, whether we have to go down to 40% capacity, whether we have to change our hours of operation, whatever we need to do to stay alive, let's do it. The vaccine is not that far away.
And with many restaurants on the brink of closing for good, Oakland County announced a $10 million plan to help keep them afloat. The county will give $7 million from the federal CARES Act to 1,000 restaurants and bars. It can be used to cover expenses for food, rent, or to pay employees. Another $2 million will help restaurants adapt to outdoor service. The county is buying greenhouse-like structures, heaters, and propane. Another $1 million will be used to help businesses reopen safely, providing things such as PPE and hand sanitation stations.
Right now, the scientists of the FDA are working around the clock to review the 2 vaccines submitted by Pfizer and Moderna. It's a process that's critical to ensuring the safety of these vaccines, but also very much so the confidence of the American public. Dr. Frank Lee George is here now with a look at what is happening behind the scenes. Frank.
Yeah, Devin, I think it's really important for everyone to understand how detailed this process really is. Back on October 5th, the head of the center responsible for reviewing the COVID-19 vaccines gave an interview with JAMA about what would happen when the vaccine was submitted. It gives us an inside look at what's happening at the FDA right now.
The safety profile of a vaccine that's going to be deployed in millions of people has to be incredibly clean.
Dr. Peter Marks directs the FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, known as CBER for short. On November 20th, Pfizer electronically submitted its application for an emergency use authorization to this center. It was expected to be thousands of pages.
We, as an agency, are one of the last agencies in the world that we still actually get the primary data. We don't get summary data.
That's why the U.S. review process takes longer. If a trial has 30,000 participants, CBER gets the raw data on all 30,000 people, in addition to volumes of information on every other aspect of the vaccine.
The company can do its analysis on the patients, and we have the ability, because we have the data, to do our own analyses and make sure they match up.
The submission is divided up for detailed evaluation.
It's essentially almost farmed out so that different pieces of the organization get the things that they specialize in. Safety reviewers, efficacy reviewers, and obviously there's kind of the people who keep tabs of what's going on overall. And all the reviews get written in these different disciplines.
Those reviews are then shared with the other specialties, and a meeting is held to discuss the vaccine.
Safety is what keeps me up at night. The American public has put their trust in us that we're going to make sure that this vaccine, whatever comes through us, is going to be a quality vaccine that's safe and effective. And the devotion I've seen to making sure that's what happens, I think has helped us all kind of keep our hands over our ears to the noise that's coming in from all sides, and keep our eyes on the prize, which is that we need to make sure that we do our job really well here.
Now, once the FDA has finished its evaluation of the data, it'll present a summary to its Vaccine Advisory Committee. That's a group of independent outside experts. That meeting will take place on December 10th. Now, the advisory committee will then vote and make a recommendation to the FDA to grant the emergency use authorization or not. The FDA does not have to follow the recommendation, but they generally do.
Well, how quickly then will the FDA make a final decision after the advisory committee does their voting?
Well, that hasn't been announced, but if the FDA and the committee are in agreement, I would expect it to happen quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone understands that time is of the essence in this particular circumstance.
Well, it sure is. All right, Doc.
All right, well, there's a little bit of chance of snow tomorrow, but probably not for all of us.
Let's head into Ben and see what we've got coming, Ben.
Yeah, little bit is going to be the operative phrase for pretty much this entire 7-day forecast, and we'll talk about that in a second. But today, not all that bad. We got that early sunshine, so even when those clouds came in, we were still managed to get to the 40s in most spots and barely hanging on there in Ann Arbor and Lapeer. 38 in Monroe, 39 right now in Detroit, but the wind chills are in the 30s. Here's a snapshot of the weekend in front of us. We do have, again, mostly dry conditions. Few flakes possible on Sunday. We'll talk timing and location of that. But as Kim mentioned, we do have a chance of seeing some flakes tomorrow. So we'll see who's under the gun for that and look for some beautiful fiery sunset pictures and storm pins all coming your way in just a few minutes, guys. Don't forget the Local Forecasters app is the place you drop those storm pins. And of course, we'll show you those pictures here on the air. Search for it in your favorite app store by searching WDIV. Guys.
Well, back in April, the governor announced the first of its kind task force on racial inequality and COVID.
Today, the task force is out with its first progress report. Rod Maloney live tonight with a look at where things stand and what they have learned. Rod.
Yeah, Devin, the governor and the lieutenant governor who chairs the task force are very encouraged by what they were able to accomplish, particularly when it comes to bringing the numbers down for COVID in communities of color. But they say the work is far from finished.
The average cases per million per day for African American Michiganders dropped from 176 to 59. In the same period, the number of probable deaths per million among African American Michiganders dropped significantly from 21.7 to 1.
Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist spoke with Local 4 in advance of the governor's press conference and addressed what he believes helped bring those numbers down so significantly. And he says there were some simple solutions.
Connect people to doctors. Too many people did not even have doctors or primary care physicians, or were underinsured or didn't have health insurance. We've set up a navigator program to help people who are getting a COVID test and are coming into contact with a medical professional to connect them with a doctor, so that even if they get a negative COVID test, they now have someone to work with on their other health outcomes.
He pointed to other steps taken, like distributing 6 million free masks across the state, a third of those for children, and specifically targeting communications in communities of color on what to do to avoid COVID. Despite the progress shown, though, the governor says
our number of COVID-related cases and hospitalizations is still dangerously high, and dozens of Michiganders are losing their lives to this virus each day. We must continue to work together to protect each other.
Now, the governor also talked about some of the other things that they were able to do using the task force's leadership, doing 20,000 tests in underserved communities, and also opening other testing sites. And it brought some of the care to the communities that hadn't been there previously. Back to you.
Well, Rod, what is the state going to do in this area now looking ahead?
Well, one of the things that they say that this has enabled them to do is to have a footprint, a blueprint on how to get the vaccine distributed once it becomes available. They say that may be the most important thing that comes out of this, is to be able to distribute the vaccine and get it out there quickly.
Sure. All right, Rod.
Police need help with a strange case of vandalism.
Ahead here at 6, what this man is suspected of doing repeatedly and over several weeks, damaging a local apartment complex. Grant.
A Metro Detroit restaurant owner says she'd rather stay closed and go out of business than reopen her dining room. Coming up, an intimate conversation with that restaurant owner.